What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Listen, we are back again. Do not forget that merch is available. You have your Really Be TV tumblers, mugs, and candles. The information on how to purchase merch is in the chat. I'm going to pin it to the top, and then we're going to get ready to get this party started. I believe Pam is going to join us at some point. I know she's working and all those good things, so I really appreciate her making time for us. I know that the notifications are probably not going out to a lot of people because y'all know how YouTube is with you have a certain amount of lives within a 24-hour time period. Notifications don't go out. So the crowd's gonna probably be small, but it's okay because y'all know we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna have a good time. We're gonna get it done. So let me say hi to the people in the chat, and then we're going to get this party started. Lemon Kush, what's up, my love? Hey, Tracy. Charles, hey, I'm so glad I made it. Thank you so much. Mwah. He said he loves Really Bees lives. Well, thank you, boo. Hey, L Love, what's going on? Hey, Miss Bay Thing. Hey. You can't see me. I know because I have the pictures of the merch. I want y'all to see the merch, honey. I want y'all to see the merch. I'm getting ready to take it down in a second. But yes, oh, there's Pam. There she comes right here. So the merch is available. All right. So we're about to get into some things of the things.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Pam. Hey, girl. I figured you would love a change up of topic.
Yes, Lord. Please.
Talk about something different, honey. Even though we were just talking about this last week when we were talking about people getting away with stuff and the system not, who knows who and who's connected. And I said, well, just like Tom Girardi out in California, and then the report comes back. So I'm gonna give everybody a little quick recap, and then we're gonna go through this report that I got that outlines what actually happened, how the system broke down with Tom Girardi. And I did look at the American Greed episode, which kind of gave us a little more insight when they were talking about arbitrators and how judges or former judges become arbitrators. And I have experience with working with arbitrators when I worked for the union, and we would have cases that would go to arbitration. And I never thought of the corrupted side or the corruption side of arbitration. And so that was an important or interesting part of the American Greed episode. So your expertise is of course wanted and needed. But let me give everybody a little bit of a recap of what's going on. For those of you who watch the Real Housewives of Atlanta, you guys are familiar with Erica Girardi, right? Erica Girardi was for lack of a better word, child, she was the trophy wife of Tom Girardi. There was a 33-year age difference. When Tom met her, she was a cocktail waitress at, a restaurant he frequented or something to that effect. And they, went through the rigmarole. They got married, and she basically became his trophy wife. You can look at the pictures and see the transformation from when she met him. What did I say? I didn't say the right Real Housewives. My bad, y'all. Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. What did I say? Child, all the housewives are in my head, child. But Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, child. All the housewives. You can look at the pictures. Now, if you watch the Real Housewives of Hills, you saw their over-the-top lifestyle, the private jets and the multiple homes. And I remember one season, Erica had her glam squad, and she paid for her glam squad when they went on the cash trip. She paid to fly her glam squad first class over to Tokyo so they could do her hair, her makeup, and her wardrobe. We saw, and again, if you have it, I ain't mad at you. Okay, if you have it, I'm not mad at you. So Tom Girardi, which a lot of us just kind of knew as Cambridge attorney, and they talked about that in the American Greed episode. He was a part of that case, but not as big of a part as he wanted people to believe he was. What ended up happening was a few years ago, basically the bottom fell out of this Ponzi scheme he was playing with his clients' money. Now, my understanding, and Pam, you could correct me, my understanding is the fastest way to get disbarred is the commingling of client funds. Is that a fairly accurate statement?
Yeah, playing with when you have to have a trust fund whenever you're handling your client's money, unless it's already earned. That's why you have some people that have flat rates. So they'll say, okay, we'll do wills and trust for you. The flat rate is $2,500 and it's considered earned. So anytime you earn money, you have to make sure that it's in your business account and not in the trust account. The trust account is solely for your client's money. So say for instance, you settle a case for 100,000 and like in Michigan, we take a third. So if my third is 33,000 or whatever, you have to almost immediately when your client, because for me, I have my clients okay every distribution. So I tell them what my fee is, what the costs are. This is your part, and you basically acknowledge and agree that you agree with every single cost, everything, and I went over it with you, and you know that it's fair. It's the third, whatever. I put a whole lot of disclaimers because it's nothing for your client to come back later because they spent all the money and then start rehashing like, well, maybe that attorney got too much and all of that. So you definitely have to cover yourself. But as soon as your client signs off and agrees with it, for me, this is kind of my process. Then you immediately, because it says like within a reasonable time, you take your portion out of that trust account and you move it over to your business account. And then also in your trust account, if there's a dispute, like say my client says, I don't like the amount that you put in here. I need to see more receipts on you paying for these experts and all this stuff you're trying to charge me for. If there's a dispute, you have to leave it in your trust account. You can't even move it until that dispute is handled. And the way it's set up in Michigan, if you go over in your trust account, that's an automatic trigger for your state bar to investigate. So like they do not play about, because you're handling other people's money. So they don't play about that. They usually have strict oversight on trust accounts.
Oh, so that's right. So thank you. And like and it does vary from state to state, right? As far as what the like. I mean, I know what you said is but each state has like its own, like you said, what is considered reasonable or things like that, right?
Yeah, because we have some of the codes I was looking in California, they were tweaked a little bit different. They seem a little bit more strict almost, but some of them come to we have like the National Bar Association. So oftentimes rules are almost identical. They just change it to like whatever our codes are for our state. So a lot of stuff overlaps and it's definitely identical, but I think every state is very, very strict when it comes to your client's trust account because that's their money. So like when you get retainers and you haven't earned it yet, you're supposed to put that in your trust account until you earn it. And then when you submit the bill on this is how much you earned out of that $10,000 retainer or whatever, then you got to move that over to your business account. Or otherwise it's considered commingled.
Okay. I got you. So I'm gonna just got a quick box down. I put the link in my description box. There was a like a 2020 breakdown on Hulu a few years ago. This was like maybe 2 years ago now when all of this stuff first happened. I did a review of it. We went through all of the details. So you can look, I put the link to that video in my description box. And I'm sure that episode is still up on Hulu. If you type it, it's called The Housewife and the Hustler. If you go to Hulu and you type in The Housewife and the Hustler, then you can look at this. So, right, girl. But if you don't have Hulu, or you don't want to sit through that, then you can look at my breakdown and the video link is in the chat. But I'm just going to fast forward to what sort of was the final straw that kind of caught up. So there was a case where a gas line for PG&E, basically it blew up and it blew up a neighborhood. There was a young man and his girlfriend. The girlfriend passed away, but the young man lived. It was a huge settlement. Girardi wasn't giving the young man his money. I'm just oversimplifying it. What ended up happening, this went on for years. In the documentary, The Housewife and the Hustler, they play his voicemails where you can hear him talking to the guy on the phone saying, yeah, that's a lot of money. So let me handle it. And so you don't blow it all. Let me put your money into this type of account and I'll invest it for you. There were emails back and forth. They showed the emails where these people were asking for the money and he was giving them, giving them the runaround. ultimately the family sued. They fired him as the lawyer. Then they sued him. And as a result of their lawsuit, it's sort of when the bottom fell out. And that's what sort of started this snowball. Again, child, we don't have time to go through the whole snowball, but during that documentary, they talk about all of the complaints that were against Tom Girardi. And the complaints go back to the 1980s, I believe. So this happened in like 1920. So we're talking about 20 to 30 years, give or take my math, child, of complaints to the California bar. So the question became, how was this allowed to go on? And it's too simple to just say, oh, well, he was powerful. Oh, it's deeper than that. And so that is what the California bar sort of did an internal investigation. There are two different investigations, and we can break through their results. And I think when you guys hear how deep this stuff went, it's going to blow your mind. I don't know, Pam, what was your first reaction as an attorney reading through this?
I said they would have hit me on the probably the first or the second one. I was like, ooh, what? Because he had a lot of issues with the trust account. Yeah, he had a lot of issues with the trust account. I kind of see how he finagled it. It was almost, in my opinion, is the perception that he gave to a lot of people made them not even want to consistently pursue it. Like he put himself in, even if he wasn't as powerful, he put himself in the perception of being so powerful that it was rumored that it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what happens. You like similar to Murdoch, like it's very, very similar where they were like, when we seen the boat incident, for those familiar, and when the young lady, when she drowned, how they put in there, how the boyfriend was like, do you know who that is? That's a Murdoch. Ain't nothing gonna happen. Like almost like he put up that same perception that was out in the community based on these elaborate parties and rubbing elbows and giving large amounts to certain campaigns for judges. So you had a lot of judge friends. Again, you talked about the arbitrations. Those are typically retired judges. He was a part of a lot of lawyers becoming judges. He gave this perception, whether he was as strong and powerful as he really was, he gave a perception where you probably would just say, oh, like forget it. And then some things he was able to kind of say, yeah, it was an issue, but I did it, I handled it. And they would just dismiss it at the bar. A lot of it was relationship wise, and a lot of it in my mind was the appearance of the power that he allegedly had.
A mess. So this is a press release from the State Bar of California. So I'm going to read you guys from that, and then we'll just pause, to kind of, discuss. Y'all know how we do, child. So the State Bar of California releases reports detailing past unethical conduct in the handling of Girardi complaints. The agency to implement additional enhancements to strengthen oversight, improve discipline system, and prevent conflicts of interest. And this was yesterday, so they released this yesterday. If you go to this link, and I'll put the link in the chat, there is where you can click here and you can see the actual redacted report. We're not going to go through the actual report. We're just going to go through the press release, chat, because listen, we'd be here all day doing that. The State Bar of California of Trustees released today 2 redacted reports on its past handling of complaints against disgraced and disbarred attorney Thomas Girardi. The board decided to release the reports in furtherance of the agency's public protection mission and its commitment to transparency and accountability. In releasing these reports, the State Bar has redacted information that is protected under the law, including California Business and Professions Code Section 60861 and the right to privacy. The first report was prepared by attorney Elise Lazar, who in 2021 was retained by the State Bar to review 115 files of past complaints against Girardi. Her review, limited to documents and investigative files, identified numerous instances in which complaints were closed without complete investigation or despite the development of facts warranting discipline. I just said that. A redacted version is clicked in. Like I said, I'll give you guys this link, so if you want to look at the whole report, you guys can. The second report was completed by Halpern May Barra Gilbert, LLP, an inside law firm hired by the State Bar to conduct a wide-ranging investigation that was not limited to file review and included interviews of 74 witnesses and extensive evidence gathering. The May report details instances where Girardi's efforts to buy relationships and exercise influence at the State Bar at all levels, likely impacted the handling of some complaints against him, causing those complaints to be closed improperly. Together, the two reports provide a clear and comprehensive review of how Girardi's unethical and unacceptable behavior went unchecked for so long, to reveal systemic organizational dysfunction that persisted for many years and throughout many changes of leadership. Importantly, none of the individuals whose unethical behavior is detailed in the May report are still affiliated with or employed by the State Bar in any capacity. Now, in that paragraph, two things come up that I think is interesting. The first was they said that this went on even though there was a change in leadership, which says to me that people left, and when the new people came in, they were corruptible.
But when you say change in leadership too, it's really never a complete change in leadership. It was probably somebody who was at a lower level, and then they were able to come up and be president and be. It's literally almost like, the secretary probably became the president of the bar. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not really.
I got you.
It's a change in leadership technically, but it's not necessarily the change in the environment.
Okay, got you. And that makes sense. Kind of like Congress, child. They just be reshuffling people. Then the second thing I thought was interesting was where it said that people are no longer affiliated, but I would like to see when they left, because you said it like y'all did something, but I mean, if they just left last week or a year ago, or you know what I mean, like when did they no longer become affiliated?
They probably left when they probably left. They probably left when the wife left. They all left at the same time.
Right? They said, "Oh boy, she divorcing him. She about to hit the fan. Let's get out of here now." Oh, Lord. To ensure that what happened in the Girardi matter never happens again, we commissioned unflinching investigations by outside experts, are making the results public to the extent we can legally do so, and are addressing the findings comprehensively, said Ruben Duran, chair of the State Bar Board of Trustees. While none of the individuals named in the May report are still at the State Bar, the magnitude and duration of the transgressions reveal persistent institutional failure and a shocking past culture of unethical and unacceptable behavior. In recent years, we have put in place many safeguards that serve both to prevent unethical or corrupt behavior and, if it does occur, to catch and address it quickly. That work continues, providing the disclosure is a necessary step to demonstrate our commitment to transparency and accountability and restore public trust. Yeah, that sounds good. Now let's get into the findings, because here is where it gets good. Because, baby, during a 16-month investigation, May and his team reviewed over 950,000 documents, issued 23 subpoenas, and interviewed either voluntarily or under compulsion 74 witnesses. The May report indicates that Girardi intentionally cultivated relationships at many levels in the State Bar to increase his influence of the agency. The report outlines several instances of past State Bar staff exercising poor judgment, ignoring or poorly handling conflicts of interest, and otherwise behaving unethically. None of the individuals identified as engaging in unethical conduct remain affiliated or employed by the bar. They're going to let us know that them people don't work there no more. They just said that 3 times. Yeah. They're going to let us know that people don't live there no more. Yeah. Former State Bar employees. You said, are they? Yeah, right. Do they still have their bar card? How about that? How about that? And in the American Greed episode, what I heard was tax fraud, because they said that Tom Girardi would take them on these lavish vacations and take them on Mediterranean cruises and do all of this stuff, and then they would label it on their taxes as continuing education or research or something to that effect. I said that is tax fraud. You writing off a vacation that somebody gifted you as, you know, continuing education or whatever, you know, child. That is tax fraud. Former state bar, let's get into these things, child. Former state bar employee Tom Layton, who was terminated in 2015, and his wife received gifts and payments estimated at over $1 million from Girardi through his firm while Layton was employed at the state bar. Those payments and gifts were never properly disclosed. That's tax fraud. Other state bar employees and board members accepted and failed to report gifts and other items of value from Girardi. Relatives of staff members were employed by Girardi's firm. So people who worked at the bar, their cousins, their daughters, their nieces and nephews had jobs at Girardi's law firm, child, probably picking up lint off the floor, child. Anyway.
Walking the dog.
In the office, right, walking my dog, getting me coffee, child. Staff in the office of the chief of trial counsel were improperly involved in matters assigned to outside conflict counsel. Ooh, that's heavy. Were improperly involved in matters assigned to outside conflict counsel. So they were handling stuff in-house that should have been out-house?
Yeah, it was probably a conflict because you got to run conflict checks. Like, for instance, if I represented somebody before against Myers, and then Myers said, yeah, I want you to represent us, then that's a conflict. I'm supposed to bow out because I already have, you know, and so they're supposed to do conflict. Well, every firm, you're supposed to do a conflict check, especially if you've been practicing for a while. It may happen. It may be 10 years ago, but you have to give, oftentimes, your client you have to let them know. Judges do that too. Like, it was a case I had against a school, and she had to let me know that her nephew was currently at the school I was suing. And basically her whole family went there. Her brothers, all them went there. And they'll say, I'm not biased, but you know, I have to reveal that to you because there's a conflict because of my relationship. So when you see any type of conflicts where it's family members, whether it's past representations, whatever it is, you're supposed to disclose it. So, or you're supposed to just bow out and say, you know what, I don't even want to look at impropriety. So I'm not even going to be engaged in this, and you just don't engage in it at all. But for some reason, it sounds like even though there were conflicts, which would make it look like it was biased towards Girardi, they went on ahead and dealt with it anyway.
Because look at the next point. 8 Girardi cases were closed by individuals who may determine had conflicts of interest at the time they worked on those cases. The report found that their conflicts tainted their decisions to close the cases. So that's 8 right there where they're saying, listen, you weren't even supposed to be making that decision. Child. Interim Executive Director Bob Howley ghost wrote decisions in matters assigned to outside conflict counsel without disclosing the fact, including a decision to recommend closure of a complaint against Girardi. So hold on, let me read that again. Interim Director, Executive Director, ghost wrote decisions in matters assigned to outside conflict counsel without disclosing that fact, including a decision to recommend closure of a complaint against Girardi. Baby.
Well, they was giving recommendations like we did it the right proper way because we recused ourselves and gave it to outside counsel, but we gonna give them a recommendation on what they should do.
So between 2013 and 2015, both the Executive Director's Office and Office of General Counsel received reports about Girardi's influence at the state bar in connection to Layton and others, but failed to investigate. So people were filing complaints as well, like I said in the documentary, they said people started filing complaints in the 1980s. But here we see in 2013 and 2015, like I said, this didn't the bottom didn't fall out until 2020. So we're talking about 7-8 years later. Okay. Former executive director Joe Dunn, who was terminated in 2014, and Howley made questionable terminations of two OCTC attorneys who were advocating for the disciplinary actions against Girardi. Lord, so they was just firing people who said this man doing something he's supposed to be doing. I just see lawsuit all over this because if I was one of them employees, if they haven't already sued, child.
They gotta sue one of these entities though, because Girardi ain't got it. I mean, yeah,
but can they broke? Can they sue the bar? They saying that the bar fired them. Can they sue the bar? Okay.
I mean, if it's some type of wrongful terminate, yeah. I mean, you can if you show your damages. I'm sure that you can. That's an interesting. All of this is interesting to me because I just can't.
Yeah, I mean,
you give 1 penny over on your trust account, they giving you a letter. Like, ain't nothing like getting a state bar letter or somebody complains because you didn't call them back. A lot of times stuff is dismissed, but they gonna investigate. Typically, that's the bad part about the bar. You know, it's good, but it's the bad part because you may have to go through something that's frivolous as well. You know, but
right.
So to go through for him to get all, when I was reading some of the findings, it was like, y'all playing right. Like, you guys just let all this go on for 20. Like, he felt emboldened after a while. Like, you're untouchable. You were Teflon Don. You really were.
And exactly.
And then now he got what? He don't remember nothing now because he got Alzheimer's.
Right. So they claim, child. A lot of people think it's a fake, but I don't know. I can't tell nobody what they remember, child. On at least one occasion, Girardi successfully deployed his connections at the state bar to discourage people from making complaints against him. Child. So that's the one report. In 2021, the May report found that while the state bar has since done much to remedy these problems in the past, conflict policies were weak. Record keeping on ongoing conflicts was incomplete, and awareness of conflict rules, which should have influenced case assignments and handling, was low. In 2021, Lazar report revealed errors made in case closures over the 4 decades of Girardi's career. In particular, the report identified significant issues regarding the investigation and evaluation of high-dollar, high-volume trust accounts. 2021, the Lazar report prompted the board to undertake the May investigation and to take several actions by the board to strengthen the discipline system. But I'm going to be honest, it doesn't seem like they didn't have things in place. It seemed like the people didn't follow the rules.
Yeah, the professional rules of responsibility are what we literally have to. People don't know. We don't just pass the bar. I think maybe my second year, I also had to take a test on the professional rules of conduct of responsibility. I can't remember the exact name. So there's actually a test that you have to take and pass in conjunction with your bar on your professional responsibilities. And a lot of people don't know that. I mean, it's not like as major as the bar, but you take a class in law school that kind of prepares you, they give you it's almost like you're taking a road test, one of them types. It's not that deep, but you do have to pass it before you can even practice. Just like you have to pass character and fitness, which is, I've seen people pass the bar, which is the written exams, but they haven't passed character and fitness. That's the point where they look into, girl, you didn't even remember you had a credit card that you let go deficient at 18, and they bring that mug up like, what you plan on doing about this? That's how strict they are. They made it was stuff that wasn't gonna appear on my credit report because the time had passed, and they still was like, yeah, but when you were 20, you had a T-Mobile bill and you let that mug just owe $200. So what you plan on doing about that? You had to either pay it or make payment arrangements. You couldn't have bad credit. You couldn't owe people without having arrangements. Like they're very, it's more than just the written test. And if you have like file bankruptcy, that's like a red flag because you deal with clients' money. So all of that stuff they look into, when that you're a part of. So they feel like you are fit and equipped from even a ethical standpoint. It's not just you being smart enough to pass a bar or learn the law. You have to pass loopholes, or not loopholes, but you have to pass like hoops basically to get from the ethical standpoint. So this is like correct. Are you following the rules? I don't understand what they mean in place. What, like, you guys are gonna make sure they don't know the person? Like, what else are you gonna put in place?
Right, because the rules were in place. People just weren't following them. Yeah. I had a friend of mine in college when she was in law school. She was in her first year of law school. She was from New York, but she was in law school in St. Louis. And she got a jury duty summons. But by the time her family or her parent, whoever it was, forwarded her mail from New York, it was too late for her to defer it or get out of jury. You call and you say, hey, I'm out of the state or whatever, and they'll give you another date or they'll push it back. And I'll never forget, she literally had to fly home for jury duty because she said she was afraid that if she didn't show up, that it would show up like in her fitness. I didn't know that's what the name of it was, but she was afraid that it would come back. Oh, she failed to, she was that afraid, like, oh no, I gotta go to jury duty. And I remember she flew home to California just to go to jury duty for that. She didn't get picked for a trial. And she flew right back. She was like, I don't want nothing. She was like, girl, I don't even want an unpaid parking ticket. She was like, it's that serious.
So every lawsuit you've ever been in, they ask you. Every single lawsuit that you've been a name in. I don't care if it's your divorce, your child support, whatever. They want to know. That's how they comb through. So you have people that I think the same week I took the bar, I got my clearance for character and fitness, but I have friends that took the bar and passed it and were waiting character and fitness. Like one friend passed it in like April and he didn't get, well, he knew he passed in April. He took the February bar and he didn't get licensed till like September because he was waiting on the character and fitness. Yeah.
Wow. Crazy. Okay. I mean, I understand it, but that's crazy that, like you said, it would take that long. But I understand what they're looking for and why they're doing. That's like people who have a high clearance. I be trying to explain to people. I live in an area where there's a lot of government jobs. You have state or federal, because all of DC, you have city government, state government, and federal government. So you have DC jobs, which are city government jobs. You have the federal government here. And then if you work in Maryland or Virginia, you could be on the state level. And when you get your clearance, especially a federal clearance, and you have to be reviewed, like my mother used to have to take a lie detector test every year with her clearance. She had to take a lie detector test. And if she failed that lie detector test, she was going to lose her clearance, and that's people's jobs. And a lot of times in the federal government, the higher your clearance, the better job, and if you lose that clearance, you lose that job that you have because you need a certain level of clearance. And I'll never forget a guy I was dating at the time. He was getting ready to lose his clearance because he was going through a divorce. And of course, his credit score plummeted because he was going through this divorce and they were losing the house. And it was just all kinds of stuff going on. And they called him into the office and told him that they were giving him time because they understood he was going through a divorce. But they were like, you have XYZ amount of days to get it together because this came back as a red flag. Like this came to us that your credit report had dropped below whatever that amount was, and he was getting ready to lose his clearance, and he was going to lose his job.
Wow. Yeah.
I guess.
But I think like somebody asked, well, what do you have? Is there anything you have to do to remain? I think that's what the issue is. It's not like, the bar is supposed to monitor that, and that's usually if you have these type of issues, if you have these type of complaints, but do they just come through? You answer your questions every year when you're renewing your bar. Have you been disciplined? Have you, do you have malpractice insurance? Have you been convicted of a crime? Like they ask you all those questions every year, but as long as all your answer is no, they don't just independently have, 20,000 people in a bar, and they just decide we're going to continuously do character and fitness checks and make sure your credit is good and your firm's credit is good and all that. They don't do that. It's usually brought to their attention that triggers it.
Got you. Okay. So here are the actions that they say they've already taken, child. Current board and staff leadership have already taken many steps to reform the agency. Many of the failures outlined in the May report occurred before 2018, when the state bar shed its professional association functions and focused more sharply on its public protection mission. Examples of these reforms include more robust policies and procedures regarding conflicts of interest and gifts that recognize the importance of avoiding the appearance of impropriety and mandate frequent reporting. New OCTC policies that limit the ability to close cases when a complaining party withdraws a complaint. Improvements on how the OCTC reviews patterns of complaints. Numerous steps to strengthen the Special Duty Trial Counsel program, which handles cases when internal staff have conflicts. Elimination of board elections. All trustees are now appointed, and elections for board officers positions have also been eliminated. I don't know if that's a good thing or not. So you go from an election to people being appointed to try to get rid of corruption. I don't know if that helps.
Especially if you get someone who is probably going to choose their friends. I mean, if I'm a
I don't know how that
you appoint who you want. It's not the masses that's able to choose it.
Exactly. I don't know how that child. I'm gonna finish reading it because we're almost at the end. But child, I'm gonna give y'all my opinion in a minute. Before the May report was submitted, the board created of ad hoc committee and oversight and accountability reforms to review the findings and recommendations from the May report and recommended additional changes in state bar governance and operations. Committee members are trustees Arnold Saul, Jr., Halen Chin, and Melanie Shelby. After its members fully consider the May report findings in conjunction with the Lazar report, the committee will make recommendations that will be posted for public comment before being acted on by the Board of Trustees. The commissioning and release of the May and Lazar reports represent important steps in the bar's efforts to better fulfill its public protection missions by fostering a culture grounded in integrity, accountability, and transparency. The RAND said, while much has already been achieved, these investigations equip us to further strengthen governance, ethical, cultural policies, and procedures. Now, okay, so this is the article again. I'll drop the link in the chat because you guys can go and see the redacted, the actual breakdown of the redacted report. Let me come back to the chat. I wasn't reading the chat because I was reading the document, you guys. I wasn't looking at the chat. That's the right there. Let me say this, and then I'm going to let the Esquire speak. Y'all, this is some bullshit. This report is some bullshit to me. This man played carte blanche with the agency that is supposed to protect the people and make sure that lawyers are behaving and acting in an ethical manner. And I don't see anything in that document that addresses the systemic breakdown, because here's the thing. It's not laws were already in place. It's not like the rules didn't already exist. You had somebody who thumbed his nose at the rules and was able to get away with it for decades. We're not talking about 2 or 3 years. The complaints go back to the 1980s. So anything in that press release that addresses the systemic breakdown, in my opinion. Now, maybe I was expecting more, and to me, y'all, that was some bullshit. They spent a lot of money on a report to tell them what they already knew. Tell me about where were the holes in the policies that allowed this to happen. Shut up and let that squad put her. I know you want to be, but go on, tell me your opinion.
Well, I think part of this was some of these people should have sued him directly. And if they would have sued him directly, some of this stuff would have came out, because he did handle a lot of this stuff once he knew that they reported it. Like, for instance, he would hold their money. Like, say he got a settlement for me. He held my money in trust account. I'm supposed to have it. I know it's there. And then 6 months later, you still didn't give me my money. So I'm asking you, hey, dude, like, where's my money at? And you're ignoring me, not calling me back. And then I file a complaint. And once he gets notice that a complaint is filed, you release my money. The bar didn't do things like, well, let me check his account, his trust account, and see if the money was ever in there or where this money came from. Because it could have been that he didn't took it from someplace else or his own personal account, which would have triggered something. They just was like, oh, that's been resolved. So in their mind, they felt like when it was resolved, or he'll do things like, so for instance, there's times that you sign up clients and then you realize for whatever reason you're not a good match. Because it's only been a couple of times that I've had to like fire my client. Like, listen, our communication is off. There's deadlines. You don't want to participate in litigation. Apparently, you don't know what litigation is. So here's my letter telling you that I don't want to represent you, but I'll let you know, hey, there's a 3-year statute of limitation. It's only been a year. but I suggest that you go find you an attorney immediately to come represent you or whatever. And then I'll give like the state bar number or whatever county they're in, the state bar for that county that they live in or whatever, like go try to find you another attorney. That's the proper way to fire somebody. What he would do was when people said that they were complaining against him about how he was acting, he would file to withdraw as an attorney. And for a lot of those people, it was probably so far into the litigation, it harmed them. Because, for instance, I had a friend who was leaving her practice and she had some medical malpractice cases, and I've done those back in the day. They're very expensive to do. So I only take them when I know I'm going to make a lot of money because I'm going to spend a lot of money first, contingency wise, before I ever see it. I take that big risk. So you're very methodical on taking those cases. When I looked at her cases, I was like, girl, I don't know who gave you these cases, but they suck. So no, I'm not taking these cases. And I said, and the statute of limitation is, when it comes to medical malpractice in my state, is not that long. I don't have time to get expert. I don't want them grieving me because I missed deadlines or whatever. Like, you should have been filed this case. So the point is, sometimes the case is so far gone that no other attorney is going to come in and take over the case. So he also used that as leverage. Oh, you're going to report me to the state bar? Well, I'm going to withdraw from your case. So, and it would be the same community, these class actions with all the same people. So once word gets out, oh, he withdrew from their case. Now they blew the statute. They couldn't get any attorney to come in and take over. So now their case is pretty much done. I don't want that to happen to me. So I'm not going to complain, and I'm not going to do a complaint to the state bar because I don't want him withdrawing from my case. So that was one of the tactics that I saw another tactic that he did. So that means that he found little gray areas where it would justify for his friends or colleagues that he was close to or donated to dismiss it and say, we got greater issues. He kind of handled that on his own. So that was part of it as well. So that's why I think it was tough for them, where we can all look at it like, why didn't you thoroughly and further investigate? They had little bit of loopholes to go through. And then, like they said in one of the reports, they think a lot of it was just his influence and celebrity, that he had that made people make those type of decisions. But they couldn't really prove a lot of stuff. They couldn't prove, except for, like you mentioned, the gifts and if it was a politician, it would have been a federal crime. But because in theory, he's just, he's an attorney, is that really, when you got other people that's giving you gifts, we can assume it was to bribe, but can we really prove that it was for bribery? The $1 million worth of gifts or whatever, and going out on the jets and all of that, we can assume that that's the reason. But that's why I said it's just a lot of gray areas, I think, that he learned how to maneuver over the years in order to avoid something major. But then it took this lawsuit. Now, if you had a client that was like, oh no, I asked him to see That was another thing he did. People would ask, can I see the breakdown? Can I see the disclosures on what you spent my money on? And he wouldn't show them that. Like what I said, I have people sign off on. That was another thing that he did. So if somebody sued and said, I believe he shorted me out of $50,000, that would have opened up, because that's beyond the state bar. And then we could have subpoenaed the state bar. And one of the subpoenas would have been any and all complaints that have been received by the California State Bar against Girardi. That would have been one of the subpoenas I'm sure they would have did. And then we would have seen the 100. Then the media would have got a hold of it. Then it would have been a domino effect. Because some people, it takes embarrassment in the media to do something. So that was part of it too, that some of the clients that were wrong just didn't take it past the state bar. You know, instead of just suing like what happened a couple of years ago. But yeah, I don't believe half the stuff at the California bar. They're just trying to save face at this point. They're trying to save face because you guys did drop the ball.
I agree. And I really think that this was just an exercise to shut us up, to say, look, we investigated. This is what we found. We're sorry. We're going to do better. But I just feel like if you follow the rules, and I hear what you're saying, that he knew how to maneuver and use these loopholes. And again, because I think nobody was paying attention to who was about to job, you know? Like, is there a cap on gifts? So let's say you get an appointment to the Michigan State Bar, or you run for election, however it works in Michigan. On gifts, if somebody were to give you and say, hey, you know, I want to take you out to dinner and I take you to Prime, you know, I take you to Ocean Prime, and the bill comes to $1,500 versus your son a car. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is there a cap on gifts that you have to report? Bless you.
Thank you. Certainly for politicians there are, but we're all really friends. You know what I'm saying? Like, most of us, I go against another attorney. I have several friends and they may become a judge. I have friends that are judges. We went to law school together. We're friends. So how do you really separate that but from a political standpoint, oftentimes you can't take anything from anybody over $25. You know, like it's really, you know,
right,
cut and dry.
Right.
But like for attorneys, like literally it's a big community, but it's a small community. Like, you're going to be one person away from knowing whatever attorney somebody asks you about. I have several attorneys that I would consider, you know, not exact to the friend level, I guess, but that I would consider, you know, that I'll talk to on a regular basis, and we hang out and we go out to eat, and you might pay for it this time and not this time. And then what if next week they go run for office? You know, they run to be a judge. Like, am I going to be in trouble because I pay? So I think that's kind of a slippery slope. But how he was doing it, he was friends with Bill Clinton. He had all these major people as well that were coming on these yachts, and you were very methodical with dealing with people from the state bar. You were very methodical with your relationships to make sure your people got on the judgeships. It was even rumored he can keep you from being on the bar too. Like, that was one of the rumors. So a lot of stuff, how true it was as far as the extent of his power, it was definitely the fear of it that people got, like, oh, he powerful. We just seen him next to Clinton. He powerful. We went to Morton Steakhouse, because that was supposed to be one of the places he took a lot of people to, or one of the country clubs, and we seen him sitting with the director of the state bar. So if I'm just a regular person, I'm going to think that, oh, he too powerful. I'm just going to let it be. You know, and it was like, that's why I said it's kind of foggy on how his power, obviously it had some type of influence, because they just let a lot of this stuff go by the wayside. But how big his power was, that was more of a perception than a reality, is kind of what I was weighing in, like looking at some of this stuff that he did. I'm just like, there's just no way. I'm telling you. My junk would have been $5 over. They would have been like, ma'am, you have an appointment to talk to the examiner on next week at 2:00. So this is like, I'm flabbergasted, because I just couldn't even see it even going this far. And then in the interim, with all these complaints, he's winning awards.
Right. Yes. Yes. And that's what I'm saying. Like, this is crazy. Yes, he is winning awards. Child.
What was his position at Aaron Brockovich? Was he just gave money or something? What? Because I don't even remember him in the movie. That's my favorite movie.
Okay, so if it's your favorite movies, okay. So remember when they brought in the law firm to come in because they had more resources, and he was like, "This is like this is yeah. I don't have the resources to." He was a part of that law firm. He was a part of that contingency that came in. It wasn't his law firm, but he was a part of that group of lawyers that came in.
So basically, you didn't have anything to do with win, lose, or draw. You just had a financial stake in it.
Right. Because by the time they brought those lawyers in, they just needed the money. They had the case. They just needed the resources.
Aaron Brockovich won that case. She came and she was the one that kind of highlighted the Flint water crisis too.
Yeah, she did. She's over. When did she just get back? She just got back from the Middle East. I think Palestine. I think she just got back from Palestine, talking about the way the state of things in Palestine, I believe.
Wow, she out here working. It's a mess. She was the one that's why I said sometimes you get a really good paralegal where their research skills are so on point and they're willing to go over and beyond, go talk to families, go do the different things that she did and do the research and investigation where they really win the case for you. You just are the one with the license to practice. So you kind of take their work, put it together in a legal format, and that's that.
Exactly. And I love Aaron Brockovich. I remember seeing the movie the first time, and I love this. I love the for me, the sub story to that is, there's some very intelligent people, but because of life circumstances, they don't have the degrees, or they don't have. That doesn't mean that they're not intelligent. It doesn't mean that they couldn't have. Like, which absolutely could have gone to law school and probably busted, but. Life is what it is. And her life took a different turn and different decisions. She got married. She had kids, whatever the situation is. But when you see who she is, and forget about the movie, you see who she is in real life. Like, that woman is ridiculous,
Yeah.
So, child, let me look at these comments and we're going to get out of here. We ain't going to be here long because I just wanted to give us a change of venue, and we talked about this when it first came out, so I just wanted to sort of bring it full circle. But I invited Pam so she could cleanse her palate a little bit, child. I know she's sick of talking about Whitehead on her. She has real work that people are paying her to do, but I know down here on YouTube, child, she's tired of talking about that man.
Listen,
she was in Palestine.
Everybody was calling me. Everybody was calling me asking.
Go ahead. I have a delay. I'm sorry. I have a delay. Go ahead, babe.
I said, everybody was calling me about that video. One more person sent me that Angela Yee video again for me to look at. I said, nope. I said, I'm not talking about him till Monday. Everybody can have a field day. Your girl done put her work in 4-5 times. I even brought you guys on the panel so you guys can get a whole different variety. I said, but I cannot hear the same repetitive stuff of him like it sound better the 5th time. I just was like, I can't do it this weekend. I'm going to work on my real cases that pay me right now. And that's what I've been doing.
Mimi, thank you. Right. Mimi, thank you so much, child. I'm gonna be sounding so stupid in the replay. She was in Palestine, Ohio, not the Middle East, y'all, where they had the train derailment. I am so sorry, because when I saw it, I was like, why the hell is she in the Middle East? My bad, y'all. She was in Palestine, Ohio. They're gonna get me in the comments. They're gonna be like, thank you for getting me together. Thank you for getting me. They're gonna talk about me in the comments, child. People read the replay and they don't listen. They just be like, it's Palestine, Ohio. And I'll be like, I know, I said it.
Yeah, that replay gets you every time, man. They like all up in the comments. You like, but if you would have just waited 5 more minutes, I corrected myself. Dang.
Don't they get you? But the thing is, like I tell people, I ain't mad at you for typing it because you engagement. But can you go back and delete it when you realize that I said, can you? All right, let me say it one more time, y'all. Mimi done got me together. It is Palestine, Ohio. My apologies. I did hear about the train derailment and how bad things are there, but I'm not going to tell a lie. I have not been following the story like pace by pace, but I was aware. But baby, I saw Palestine and I just automatically thought about the Middle East, child. My bad, y'all.
Oh, that was the clip of the day. You need to clip that and put it on Instagram. That's the clip of the day. Because I thought I didn't even think about. I ain't even catch it. I was just thinking like, I was gonna follow up and say she was in Ohio too. When you started talking, I showed them say she was just in Ohio. She's on CNN talking about Ohio.
Yeah. See, y'all can correct me. I am not too good. Yeah, I am not too good to be corrected. Listen, I am not perfect and I don't know everything, and I certainly don't have all the answers. Y'all can correct me, okay? That was funny to me. Okay.
Yeah.
But I did want to bring you full circle, child. I did want to bring you full circle. Unfortunately, fortunately, depending on how you feel about it, at this point, Tom Girardi probably doesn't really come of any of this because at this point, he is broke. He has no money. He has no way of earning any money, and he has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. So he probably is never going to be deposed any further than what they already have deposed him, because I'm sure we'll argue he's documented that he has dementia. Like he doesn't know and I'm sure that he can always at this point, even if he does get deposed, I don't remember. I'm not, and I'm not making light of his condition. I'm just saying
he's gonna plead the fifth. Yeah, he's gonna plead the fifth. He's not going to, as an attorney, he's gonna plead the fifth because he's already been indicted. There makes no sense for you to go and further your criminal charges, and you've already been indicted. It absolutely makes no sense. But him and his wife have a plethora of some say plethora, some say plethora, but for y'all correct me. They have lawsuits that's going to be going on forever. Like a couple of hers have been dismissed, but she has several that's still going on that she's a part of because they think she knew about this stuff and all of that. So now, to me, these lawsuits just came a day late and a dollar short. Like y'all should have did this 5-10 years ago or whatever. Not everybody wants. You're uncollectible at this point. At some point, suing makes no sense because you're uncollectible. So if I get $1 million judgment against you and you're worth negative, $1 million, then that doesn't help the situation. Their house, they sold everything. Like all that stuff went up for sale. I don't know.
And
I guess
they didn't even make no money at the auctions.
Wow. Yeah, because there was something about she had some earrings or something that was $950,000 and they sold for like $350 or something at the auction. So they're losing a lot on that.
Now we talked about those earrings. Now what they're alleging is that he pulled the bait and switch with the earrings. That what the earrings for $950,000 because he did have the bill of sale and all of that. But now trying to say that when it went to auction, they were only appraised at like $300,000, and they feel like the real earrings, the $1,000 earrings, disappeared, or the bill of sale was false to begin with, and they would never know $1 million earrings to begin with. Because Erica on the show, Erica they're worth $1.2 million now. They've appreciated in value. And they had to get a court order for her to turn them earrings over. She was like, they're mine. I'm not giving those earrings back. They're mine.
Like,
and
take them off my ear.
Right. That's exactly what listen, this is how bold she was. She was wearing them on the show when they were talking about the earrings, and she was like, "Of course I'm going to wear them." She's like, "Why wouldn't I wear them? They're mine. They're mine." And so that's why a lot of people don't have any sympathy for her, because of how she's handling it. Not because my thing is this: do I think that she was privy to what he was doing? I don't. I really don't. But she's not making herself a sympathetic, quote unquote, victim. She's not making herself sympathetic in any way. She was like, "Well, I'm a victim too. Nobody's asking me about. I'm a victim too." Girl, how you a victim? You went from being a spoiled housewife to, girl, that does not compare to a person that blew up and had burns on 80% of his body and had to have all of these surgeries. Ma'am, you are not a victim. And so you can't get your facials every other day now. Like, girl.
And you clearly married him for what he can give to you. I mean, like, let's be clear. So once the money was gone, you was about to be gone. Come on. I've never watched Real Housewives. I don't watch any of them Real Housewives. I don't think I've watched it since Atlanta. I think Nene and them was on there last time I watched Atlanta. So I don't watch any of them anymore. I think I watched everybody's first season, and then that was just that. I was like, oh, I see where this is going. But yeah, it's like it was clear why you married him, and then as soon as you think you got wind or any type of little whispers that there was some financial problems, you was up out that joint. And then it was he treated you bad, he cheated on you, all the stuff that you would have obviously overlooked if he still was rich. So stop.
Yeah, I shit you when he was cheating on you, like, girl. You was cool with it. He was cool with it. Y'all had an arrangement. It was what it was. I don't have any sympathy for Erica, but she makes it easy for you not to have any sympathy for her. She makes it easy because she doesn't do anything to encourage for you to be like, dang, that's messed up, because he dogged her out too. You sitting there talking about, I'm a victim too. And then she even said the alleged victims. So they know alleged. These people are victims. What are you talking about? She said, well, I have to say that legally. No, you don't. No, because acknowledging whether they're victims or not don't have anything to do with whether your husband took their money. That's two different things. It's already been established that they're a lawsuit. They are victims. The question, though, is where's their money?
Honestly, from a strategy standpoint, they're only coming after her because she still has lucrative income. So they're trying to find a way to make her culpable, because she still has income. He doesn't have any income. What happens is you got to find where the pockets are. It's no point of me suing somebody who hit me that doesn't have insurance, don't own a house, don't have anything. Why would I waste my money as an attorney to do that? But if you were driving a car for Uber and you didn't have insurance and you hit my car, then I'm going to go try to sue Uber. You always trying to find where the pockets are. So that's really why she's being sued, per se, because I'm not really I would have to look at one of the complaints to even see what the charges are against her, because she benefited, maybe like an equitable type of a claim. She got unjustly enriched by these other people and they trying to prove she knew where the money came from, which I just don't believe she necessarily knew. She just wanted to be taken care of. He was known to win multi-million-dollar cases. It wasn't like he didn't have a career that you can bring it in. It's a difference if he didn't work at all, he didn't have a career. I mean, why would she didn't care as long as that dog on American Express white. She didn't care how the bill got paid.
And that's exactly what it was. And that's what I keep trying to, in my opinion, what I keep telling, like, she even said it at the reunion. Andy asked her, he said, when did you know that there was trouble? She said, when the credit card got declined. Because up until that point, she didn't care. And the show where her credit card was connected to the law firm. The law firm was paying her Amex bill. And so that's what she said. He asked her, he said, well, when did you know there were problems? Right. When did you know that there were problems? And she said, when the card started getting declined. Why would anybody expect this woman to know the inner workings of his Ponzi scheme? Because let's be clear, the Ponzi scheme was going on before he married her. It's been going on for years. So it didn't start with her. They did say, and again, not to get too deep into the minutia, but there was an account set up in her LLC's name where money was funneled through there to help her music career. And that's how they're saying, oh, well, you knew. She was like, I signed the papers that he gave me to sign. I don't know. And I believe that too. Again, I believe that.
Yeah, and he's the lawyer.
Exactly.
So you would think that he read it. I ain't gonna if my anything that my husband gives me that I do, and I'm like, okay, that's fine to sign. You think he gonna go behind me and reread it and this is what I do? Like he gonna be like, all right, my wife said it's good, so it's good. My friends do that. Exactly. They're like, hey Pam, before I sign this, can you read this? And then I try to explain it to them. They be looking at me like a deer in headlights, like, girl, I don't care. I just want to make sure that it's okay. And you tell me it's okay, I'm gonna sign it.
Right. And then you add the layer. If your husband was a pampered house husband, where he was out here driving his sports cars and hanging out with his friends on the yacht, smoking cigars and drinking expensive liquor in nice restaurants and stuff, do you think he really would care when you say, here, sign this? As long as I can still go hang out with my boys, as long as I can still take these expensive vacations, I don't care.
Yeah.
But again, but because she's not a likable person in this process, I think it's easier for people to want to connect her to it because she's not likable. And I do watch the show. And I used to like Erica before all this stuff happened. And it's because her husband turned out to be a crook. It's because of how she is handling it. She's just coming off very unsympathetic.
The only way she's gonna withstand all these lawsuits is if they're similar and she gets some type of dismissals, like on the face, like she does what we call a motion to dismiss, and they dismiss it on the pleadings. Then maybe she can try to use that on each case to try to minimize how much she's paying these lawyers. But baby, lawyers can do $1 million a case. These high profile California lawyers, it's nothing for them to run up $1 million bill on one case. So you imagine you got 30 lawsuits coming at you and you're worth $2 million. How you gonna really pay for that? This can really jack her up unless there's a strategy in order to make sure that she has some type of agreement where like, okay, we got the dismissal. These are similar cases. Now she'd be messed up if the other lawyers are studying these dismissals and they make sure that they try something new. That'll mess her up. Now I look at other cases like, okay, well that don't look like it worked. This is the case law that goes to it. So let me go find something else creative to do it. So yeah, she might be hit where it probably wasn't worth to marry the old guy just for a couple of dollars. That's probably what she's thinking to herself now. The cost benefit analysis didn't work out. The math ain't mathing right now.
Right. The math ain't mathing. All right. Well, Pam, thank you so much for being here. I'm about to wrap this thing right on up. And like I said, I would definitely be looking forward to new information, child. But we'll get there when we get there. You enjoy
my new name. My new name is the social media lawyer. That's what he said I was.
Yes, honey. You're the social media lawyer.
My new name.
Child, when he said that, I cracked up. But let me tell you this. I will say this, and I'm going to say this publicly. He's not wrong about him being the name that pays because, baby, do you know that interview, when I looked at the number, I looked at it this morning, it is 775,000 views on that Angela Yee interview. I'm going to check right now before we get off of here. When I looked this morning, it was 775,000. I'm going to look right now, see.
And even though they've been dragging Angela Yee, they've been dragging her. Because they were like, you didn't really ask no questions for real. You just let them talk and really like almost as if you were co-signing or believing.
Never mind. That's not wrong. That's wrong. I don't know what I must have been asleep when I looked at that this morning. I was all wrong. Never mind. Forget everything I just said. I don't know where I saw 700,000 views. You know what? I don't know where I saw 700,000 views because that's showing. Because I thought.
I said, let me watch it. I've been watching snippets when people been going over it on the platforms, but I've never listened to it because I was like, I just can't do him this weekend. I got to do something else. I can't.
No, my bad. I must have saw a number that wasn't there. I must have been asleep. Yeah, I'm tired. I must have saw a number that wasn't there. But I'm wrong. Never mind. Don't put nothing in the chat. Because I just said it. I was wrong.
How many was it? How many was on the video, really, B? How off were you?
Here's what I think must have happened.
What happened?
I must have added a zero. Because Saturday put 14,000 views on that video. 7,000 views when I saw it. And I added a zero. Instead of 7,500, child, I added a zero and made it 750. Because I remember thinking, damn, that's a hell of a number overnight. Like, this is about... Okay, now, I'm sleepy.
I wasn't gonna let you slide by off of here like I was wrong, y'all. That's it. No, I want to know how wrong you were. I want to know how wrong you were on that video.
Child, I'm going to bed. I'm going to take me a nap.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. We'll be back for Love and Marriage DC, child, at 9:15, honey. I'm going to take me a nap. I'm going to lay down for about 2 hours, child. About 2 hours. All right, good night, everybody. Don't forget to spring forward tonight. Don't forget the clocks go forward tonight, child. You better make sure you don't miss your... Are you flying back Monday or tomorrow?
Monday.
Oh, you good. Okay. I was gonna say don't mess up your timing, but you good, then you good. All right, y'all. I'm out. I'll talk to y'all later. Ooh, chat. I don't know where I saw no 750,000. I'm tripping.